was a pleasure speaking with Barrie in this episode of the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. Barrie Wilhelmi is the talent lead at Wieden and Kennedy over in Portland. The powerhouse agency in Portland, perhaps the mitochondria of advertising agencies. You're going to have to credit me if you use that. They're known for their award-winning work for Nike, TurboTax, Ford, Kraft, and they even won a three-peat for Ad Age's A-List Agency of the Year. What I find most impressive is that they're independent. There's no backup from a large holding company with hundreds of companies and dollars. But back to Barrie. As the talent lead, she is responsible for having open and honest conversations with aspiring talent to see if they are a great fit. She's candid in this episode. She talks about clearly understanding what you want in life and how that should transcend into your job search. She offers a valuable insight into Wieden, recruiting, and job search advice relevant to all advertising and marketing professionals. She even sent me a list of resources that she thinks you should follow to keep yourself exciting and up to date about culture in general. You have to be interesting to better your chances of landing your dream job. So, head over to our Instagram at enteringad, one more time, at enteringad, to see those fantastic recommended resources and art pieces by Buchan Zhang, our creative director. And now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast, and as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberg. Kick it, Mikey. All right, Barrie Wilhelmi, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. How are you doing today? You're in Portland, Oregon.
I am. I'm doing just fine. I have been staring at emails all day and also dealing with a small child. So, I'm living the dream. This is the advertising dream, right?
Yep. We were talking about that. I could not imagine having a 3-year-old and working in this industry, really. So I'm
No,
curious on how you balance that out. And, that's just time management. You got to be a queen at time management for all of that.
I don't even know that it's time management. I think it's like anything you do in adulthood, like you just kind of figure it out along the way. And I think any parent I talk to right now is looking at each other going, I don't know how I'm doing it. Like
Mhm.
like you're just keeping things together with Scotch tape right now.
See, I
So
feel
that's
like
kind of what I'm doing.
I'm trying to keep my own life together with Scotch tape, and you're supporting another human. So that's very impressive.
To be fair, he did go to the ER yesterday, so, like, it's not like I am really necessarily doing the best job this
Oh,
man is
well,
doing.
well, I've been to the ER a couple times. We all been to the ER a couple times. At least he
That's
made it.
true.
He made it back. It's all good.
Yeah,
Um, awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, Barrie Wilhelmi. That's a cool
yes,
last name.
thanks.
You are currently the talent lead at Wieden and Kennedy.
I
Uh,
am.
what does that mean? What do you do as a talent lead? Let's talk about you.
Okay. So I am one of a few. There are about, let's see, 6 of us, 7 of us now, and that includes talent people as well as coordinators, and all of us kind of focus on different areas. I focus on brand management and strategy, and it's really recruiting. But I think the way we look at recruiting is not, first of all, I'm not in HR. It's totally a different world.
Mhm.
We just focus on bringing in great people to make great work, and then obviously also really understanding, I think, the way talent grows and kind of having a perspective on how the industry is changing from the outside, because we are the ones who are spending so much time talking to other people outside of the walls of Wyden who aren't clients.
Hmm. Doesn't every talent recruiter look for great talent that makes great work?
Yeah, but that's my job. I'm just doing it for Wyden.
Huh. So
Yeah,
what do you, I mean, obviously there's some success with the name there, and you're at the Portland location. You live in Portland. Um what are some tactics, or how do you find success in finding great people? Like, do you
mhm.
look at non-traditional realms, or what do you find successful?
Um, I mean, in a perfect world, I meet people and have relationships over time, and so that I can kind of get to know people along the way, and I think that's the better way to do it.
Mhm.
Um, we have been in a bit of a crunch in hiring a lot of people, so a lot of it just has to do with kind of me talking a lot. I talk to people all day long, and I meet new people all day long, and that is my job. Um, and really understanding, like, you know, who will be happiest at Wieden and who
Mm.
Wieden will be happiest with. And so it's a bit of a matchmaking thing. It's like I get to meet a lot of people and then I have to figure out what the right matches are.
Interesting, interesting. That's a nice way to phrase it, actually, to find where they would be happy, and that's very
Mhm.
important in a career, and
Yes.
especially and you're dealing with people of all levels, so entry level to
Yeah.
probably VPs, whatever. So
Yeah.
you deal the whole gamut. Our targets in this podcast are obviously college students, maybe just
Yeah.
got out of so entry level.
Yep.
So let's tailor this conversation to them because they're going to be super curious. I mean, at Wyden, you're probably not you're you probably don't have to look very far to find great people, right? Like, are they're coming to you for the most part? Are you going to like deep corners of the country to scavenging out like some hidden talent? Or I mean, I would have to assume you've got a pretty large pool to choose from.
Um, I think it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, to be honest with you, I really love finding people who are not the obvious person.
Mhm.
I think that to me, I mean, there's lots of different reasons why, but I think, I also just find, like, joy in that, of kind of being, like, finding those people who never in a million years thought they'd be at Wieden or somewhere like a Wieden or anything like that, and then, finding them at a random agency or in a random place, because great people are everywhere. So, that's kind of the way I like to look at it. I think it's more fun that way.
Absolutely. Do you have any, like, examples? I mean, you don't have to say their names, but, like, of somebody that might have you might have recruited or found in a non-traditional role or major, somebody that didn't necessarily fit the advertising mold, let's say?
Um, Geez. I mean, I think that I don't know, like, I don't think there's, like, a glaring example. I think
Mhm,
the people that come to mind the most often for me are people in agencies that are doing work, that might not be, like, the big stuff on on the front, like, landing page of Ad Age or whatever it is.
mhm.
And I think that those are the types of people who are like doing really great stuff because they're personally motivated versus motivated by like the fame of an account. And I think to me that that shows me a certain character that I think is really important.
Oh. We can sit here. That's interesting. So if you're not at the agency you wanna be at, sometimes that a lot of times that's the case, where you're
Yeah.
maybe not in the position where you're, briefed with the most creative work, or you're not gonna win, uh, a Cannes Lion
Yeah.
at a small age, but you should still tackle it like you're, with that personal passion, with it give it all you got,
Yeah,
right?
because everyone wants that person on their team, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that's what everybody is looking for. So to me, I just look for people who just really care. It doesn't matter like necessarily exactly what they care about or what they're exactly working on, but I do want to like I want to work with someone who just really gives a shit and gives a shit about anything and wants to work hard to do that.
Mhm.
Um so yeah, I don't it's not like I'm just looking at like, the big fancy shops, the big names. Like I actually don't spend as much time looking at those.
Hmm. Interesting. So you mentioned, you wanna work with somebody that's hardworking, and passionate, and
Mhm.
you've in your career, you've been hardworking as well. So let's back it up a little bit.
Oh
Uh,
dear.
let's back it up.
Yes.
How did you find this crazy industry? Um, you know, where did you graduated from Tulane, great
Yeah.
school, Harvard of
Mhm.
the South, my father calls it.
Yeah. Yes, I graduated from Tulane. Geez, and then I went and I worked for a professor at Northwestern. I helped her do some research,
Oh,
And
Chicago.
then, yeah, I grew up in Evanston, Illinois. Well, that's where I went to high
Oh,
school. Yeah.
nice.
Yes. So I'm a Midwesterner.
Good. Good.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then I honestly, I know you know that I had a psych degree. I had a
Mhm.
minor in sports medicine. I truly did not know what I was doing. I don't think I'm always impressed with anyone who's graduating from college and knows what they want to do because I had no idea. And so, yeah, I worked on some research for a while. My now husband at the time was not my husband because I was rather young.
Mhm.
Went to Ad Center as a art director, and literally just said that everyone he met in the strategy track had a like he just thought it was something I would be interested in. So that's how I ended up. I applied. Thank God I got in, and that kind of changed the course of my life.
And
I had no idea.
you said ad center, meaning VCU ad center,
Brand Center, yeah.
now brand center. Yeah.
Yes, now it's Fancy Brand Center. I was there when it was still, like, above the law offices and the rugs were covered in dog pee, so it
Oh,
was not fancy.
what does your husband do? Do I have to do a separate episode with him now?
He's he's a freelancer. He's a
Okay.
freelance creative director, yeah.
Nice, nice. Did he work at any
Mhm.
big agencies?
He is the person who came up with Puppy Monkey Baby for Mountain Dew.
Call him up. Call him up. I know he's downstairs doing puzzles with your child, but he just
Yeah,
stole the show. No,
that's
that's
his big
awesome.
claim to fame. So and he was
I
actually the
love that
voice behind it,
commercial.
which is also hilarious.
I gotta
So he
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I have to call up my high school teacher who played that ad every single day when I was in high school. I think that was like one of the like, that cracked me up.
Yeah. I think it was much bigger than they were really thinking. They kind of didn't really think it was gonna be that big of a deal.
Okay.
So yes, that is the famous person I am married to, the puppy monkey baby.
That's probably the best commercial of all time. It's gotta be. I'm calling it now. Awesome. Um, okay, back to you.
Yes,
So, that's not about him. Puppy, monkey, baby, whatever.
it's always about him and the puppy monkey baby. I'm used to it.
Cracks me up. Okay. So he was at Brand Center. He said, "Hey,
Yes,
hey Barry, you gotta get over here. You can
yeah,
do this strategy stuff, like for
yes,
sure."
yeah.
And you
And I
did.
was like, I don't know what it is, so I applied and I got in and I spent 2 years there. And I like getting out of school was terrifying. And I remember I went to New York and I spent 2 days um just literally, like, walking around the city being sent from place to place. Like, everyone I talked to for an informational would literally pick up their phone, text someone, and be like, "I'm gonna send this person over to you. You should talk to her." And I literally spent 2 days doing that, and by the end of it, I remember laying down in bed, and my body was so exhausted that I had, like, muscle twitches because I had just been, like, literally just, like, running around the city.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up at IMG. Like, that is truly like, it was one of the last conversations I had, and I had no idea, like, anything about New York. I didn't know the layout of the city at all, and I was in Midtown and interviewed, and he offered me a job, and I was just like, "What is happening?" Like, I truly it was the craziest 48 hours, and
You
that's how I
got
ended up here.
first off, foreign concept. This is like ancient now that you were in person interviewing.
Yes. Yeah.
It was only like 2 years ago that we were interviewing in person and running
Yeah.
around like,
Yeah.
but that, it feels like
Yeah.
ages ago with the pandemic. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, that kinda that caught me off guard that you were physically going to different offices
Yeah.
and applying. So, with the connections from Brand Center, Ad Center, those got helped you out once you, like, got
A
into New
little bit,
York?
yeah. I'm trying to remember who my first I think I think my first conversation I was at I went to Kirschenbaum, which is now Forsman, and I don't remember who he connected me with, but it truly was just like this weird domino effect.
Mhm.
And I would talk to them for like 45 minutes and then they would text or call somebody and I would truly like get in a cab or get on the subway and go to
Crazy.
another office. And that's truly I just did it for 2 days straight.
Yeah, I think a good note there is, like, when you do those networking when you get on the phone with somebody now, like, you can always ask, like, "Thank you so much, like, do you have anybody else you recommend me talking to? Like, I
Mhm.
would love to keep this going," whether it's
Yep.
inside the agency or at another place, just anybody that would
Always.
be
Always ask.
because then it's a domino effect. You keep it
Yeah, and I
going.
think the thing that I tell everybody is like, and there is not anyone in this industry who didn't get in like by someone just opening a door. So
Mhm.
we're all like, and I believe this, like we are responsible for karma and we're all supposed to pay it back. And so it's like truly everyone will open doors for you. You just need to ask. And so don't be scared to like ask for that kind of stuff because seriously every single one of us got our start because someone decided to have a conversation with us.
It should be even more than that, in my opinion. When you're on the other side of it, now that I'm on the other side, I'm in the industry. I want to, and we all should offer it when they're too afraid.
Yeah,
If we feel like if they reached out and they've done all the right steps, we should offer, hey, I know somebody that you should talk to before
totally.
they even ask. Like, make it easier for the students
Yeah,
for to break in if you can.
yeah, yeah. Open the doors because that's really like that's how we all got here. And so you should make it easy. Don't make people beg for that. That's just
Oh,
unfair.
it's just awkward
Yeah.
and yeah. Nice. So that's how you were 48 hours, not that long though.
No,
What?
but it felt like ages considering, like, I think I had at least 5 conversations each day,
Okay,
and
that makes
yeah,
sense.
so it was like I mean, I truly that level of exhaustion, especially, like, you know what interviewing feels like, so you're just, like, mentally done by the end of that.
Oh yeah,
Um, so
I
yeah.
totally repressed all those memories. Now that you just brought them up, yes. I
Well, as
feel
someone who does it all day long, it takes a lot. You have to give a lot of energy to that stuff. So, so yes, I did that for a few days. I got the job at IMG, um, and that like truly set my course. And then went to BBMG from there. BBMG focuses on sustainability and conscious consumer stuff, and I was kind of in that like I want to, do good and work on things with purpose. And then was at BBMG for a while, and I missed the creative side because it was more of a consultancy. So they didn't have a creative department; they had designers, and that was it. Um, and so I went to Kirschenbaum,
mhm.
and then I went into headhunting, which is when things got a little weird. Like I just took a different turn, and that truly came from I met someone at the talent business who I really loved. And the talent business does not work on um, oh my god, what's the word? Not on commission, sorry, there you go. I'm
Mm,
6:30.
yeah,
They don't work on commission, they work on salary. So, I really wanted to work with people and to help them navigate the job search rather than feeling like I was just trying to sell them jobs. I wanted to, like, really help them make
yeah.
decisions. And so, I had tried it. I had tried my own what like different strategy role 3 different ways at that point. Um, and so, yeah, I spent a couple years doing that, met a shit ton of people in the advertising world across the board.
Where was that at? Where did you start recruiting at?
It's called the talent business. Um,
Okay.
they are they're global. And the headquarters is London, and so they had a New York contingent. There were like 8 of us in total, and we worked in Gramercy Park in one of the like brownstones, which sounds super fancy, but it was like definitely a ragtag team. And I want to say I did that for like 4 years. I can't even remember at this point.
What drew you to that though? Like, because I know people listening also might want to be
Hmm.
enter into recruiting. So, like,
Totally.
what made that switch for you from strategy into that?
Um, I mean, this is kind of why I'm where I am today too. I think oftentimes people don't really think through what job they want and what job is good for them and what job they need. And
Mm,
so I really wanted to be like more of a consultant and more of a coach in that because I think that I felt like I kept kind of like not like making good decisions, but like not having like always wishing I had had more of a Sherpa in it of like someone to really talk through the pros and the cons of a job and like how that's going to affect my skill set and how I'm going to grow through that. And so that truly was what motivated me. I was like, I just want to work with people and like help them with that, help them
wow,
figure that out.
absolutely. Wow. Have you seen a lot of people like, when they come to you, like, have you helped them out, like shown them a different path or really
I hope
highlighted?
so. I hope so. I mean, I think I try to be super honest and I try to like push people to think beyond like titles and I try to get them to think beyond agency names or whatever that is.
Right, right.
Um, because I think that's something that I didn't think enough about when I was younger, and not that I made bad decisions. Like I loved everything I did, but I think it was just like I just always wish someone would like sit there and talk to me about it and talk me through it and help me understand the choices that I had versus just like jumping and whatever. So,
It
um, yeah.
it feels very like when you do enter the industry, it is overwhelming. All like, and it's sometimes when you're I feel like for my situation, sometimes it feels like it narrows in. Like you're set to
Mhm.
one career path and
Mhm.
this is your destiny. And this is what you went to school for. This is what you
Mhm.
have to do. There's
Yep.
no other way. I'm tunnel visioned right now into one part of my own career. And
Yep.
it's kind of scary. Like this is like I feel like I have no other options. And I know a lot of other people feel like that too.
Yeah, and I think, if anything, you can look at my career and realize that's not true. I mean, I think it's a lot of the ways I made my decisions truly were about really like I think you and I talked about it the first time we chatted, which is just like really stopping and thinking about like what you are personally motivated by, what really lights you up every day. Like when are those moments in your job that you're like, I love this? And what are the other pieces where you're like, I don't? And as soon as you can narrow that, it creates a path that's super clear. So like when you look at my background and like the path, it does look a little like if you really like just kind of didn't think about it, it's like, oh, and then she did this. But it's like, no, there was purpose behind every one of those steps because I realized what I was interested in at that time and really like what was motivating me. Um, yeah, I think it's just about kind of like self-searching. And then you
Yeah.
can kind of make anything out of your path.
How do you do that as a talent lead? Like, how do you take that coaching mentality, like in those interviews or whatever the process that you do with potential new widen people? Like,
Mhm.
do you have those conversations before the interview? Like, how do you impart that?
Um, I think it kinda depends on, like, what the conversation is. Like, sometimes if it's, like, just a more informal or an informational conversation, I feel like the conversations are m heavier on that, of,
Mhm,
like, really trying to, like, 'cause I also just talk to people who are interesting and kind of want to know about Widen and wanna be on the radar for future purpose or whatever it is.
mhm,
I talk to a lot of people who think that they want to be in one track
mhm.
and that's not true, like, because, and so I have a lot of those conversations, I think, especially with students and a lot of juniors of like helping people kind of realize like you're trying to chase something because you've been told to accomplish versus like just deciding what you want to do. So
Absolutely.
trying to just help students and help young folks realize that like there is no syllabus. Like,
Yeah,
like there isn't a to-do list. There isn't something you're going to get graded on. So you might as well figure out what you want to be doing and not the thing that everyone told you you're supposed to be doing.
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it makes so much sense. In a school setting, they list out agencies and like all like five they list out like five roles that you can really be in advertising when you're an
Mhm.
advertising major. And there's more than that. And there's other areas to go into in general besides advertising. Um,
Totally.
so I think that's really interesting. How can people like juniors or seniors or even recent graduates or anybody, how can they figure out, in a school setting what they do or what they don't like? I know internships help out, but like what advice do you have for them to really soul search on their own so they're not in a position where there's regret or there's stress?
Yeah. I think figuring out like um I think there's a couple things. When you're working on so and I don't even this is I am what 20 years older than y'all, so like also keep in mind that perhaps school projects have changed.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
but I do think figuring out like your archetype of like what role do you play? Like what are I think there's a lot of ways to figure out like are you a leader? Is that the thing is that the thing you're great at? Are you what kind of team player are you? When you when you do get super interested in a project or some class, why? And not just because oh, because I think this like content's super interesting. Like, what is it about that content that's interesting? Like, really dive into the whys behind a lot of things, and you'll start to see that like there are areas in the industry in departments that you're going to be happier in. I think I think strategy is like always one of those things that everyone thinks they want. Um, and I can tell you that's not true. Like I think strategy becomes a catch-all for people. I think you just need to start to dig into like when are you the most successful and when do you feel the most successful and what about that success is so satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I wish, those conversations are super important. And if you could do that early on,
Hmm.
if this advice, like if a freshman in college is listening, that's probably even better because you could start earlier and start really
Yeah.
honing in on what you do and what you don't like and why. That's super
Yeah.
important.
We're just not trained to do that because we're just trained to go to school, which like there's nothing wrong with that, except that you do kind of, so much about advertising and just this industry at large is like what you bring to the table is how you think, not what you think. So like getting to that stage is really important.
Hmm.
Getting to the stage where you know how you think about things and the point of view you bring to the table, like that is critical to adding value. So getting to that place and being comfortable talking about it and understanding it is important.
Comfortable is super important.
Yeah.
Because when you do get hired and you're at the right fit, you got to be confident and you got to be comfortable with your thought process. And if it's a good fit, then you should be. But for
Yeah.
me, I know for me it's hard to feel comfortable and to feel confident in my role. Maybe that's just because there's imposter syndrome or whatever it may be. But it's really a hindrance. And I know sometimes when I go to sleep at night, I feel like I can offer more, but I feel like I don't know, like maybe it's not good enough. So I kind of like keep it low.
I mean, yeah. Like I still do that. And, but I think um it's practice, right? You
Hmm.
got to practice and you got to because I mean, everyone I know has imposter syndrome, and I'm talking about people who are like much older than you and maybe a little bit older than me. But like, um, I think the more you practice, kind of like getting yourself uncomfortable in that way, you'll just get used to it. It's like getting used to, cold water. Like
Yeah.
you got to start small, and you have to remind yourself like. This is what I tell anyone who's young, and especially people who start at Wyden. Like when because I'll catch up with them about 6 months in and they're like wide eyed and kind of like, what the hell's going on?
Sure.
And I think just like reminding yourself, like, you are hired for a reason. Like, we hired you or whoever hired you, whatever agency you're in, they hired you because they believe in you. And now you have to believe in you because like they did that for you. Like they took that jump. So like you do it too. Like, and I think just like remembering that decision was not made easily. Like they brought you on because they believe. Like that should be a vote of confidence. So like
Yeah.
go for it.
I love that. I love that. I personally needed that. So thank you. And
You're welcome.
I hope other people, have that boost of confidence too. But I want to get into now more just like getting to that position where you can feel confident is that you
Yeah.
need to be hired first.
Mhm.
And for those that do, they know that they do want to go into an advertising agency and they did the soul searching. They know that this is the right work ethic. They're ready for it.
Mhm.
Um, what's their approach? You said you're doing more business management. You recruit more strategy. You're not doing portfolio reviews as much for the creative side.
No, I don't touch the creative.
Yeah.
That's my partner.
Yeah, that's a very interesting conversation too that I don't really know much about, but
Yeah.
I've had some very special guests that do. But those that know that they want to go business or account
Mhm.
management or strategy or media,
Yeah.
um, what advice do you have for them? Like where can they start if they know they want to go large agency or they know they want to go
Yeah.
creative? It's tough. A lot of people want to go account. A lot of people want to go strategy
Yeah.
because they might not think they're that creative, but
Yeah.
they are. So where do they start? Like what's the process?
Um, so I think first realizing what it is about those 2 things that you really why you wanna do those 2 things. Um, with strategy, being interested in people is not enough. You gotta,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
and you're laughing, but like, I think a lot of people, I understand why strategy seems super cool and fun. I understand that. Um, but it is hard and it is super specific. Like, it is about understanding culture and like understanding why people do things and all of that, but also being able to take all that information and instill it into a very small, like, point of view
Mm-hmm.
and make it actionable. So, like, don't forget, like, anyone who wants to go into strategy, do not forget that that's actually the purpose of strategy. Is like, you got to narrow all those things. So, both brand management and strategy come with clear, concise points of view on whatever it is. I don't care. You don't have to have a point of view on advertising. I don't care if you like have super big knowledge about every ad made last year. It is not, I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
I want you to come to the table and make my brain tingle. I want you to say things to me that I go, "Oh shit, I've never thought about that way." Like make me want to talk to you more,
Mm-hmm.
because to me, like, that is to our point about like saying the things you want to say at the table. Like, when you are junior, that is exactly the value you're going to add. You're going to be that voice in the room that says something that a bunch of older people didn't think about because they don't have that point of view. So you got to be able to say it. And
Mm-hmm.
so, the more, whenever I talk to someone young, like the minute they make my brain go like, "Oh man," like that's it. Like I can feel myself be like, "Oh, I totally want you to talk to a hiring manager." And it is like that magic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I just think, like, I know this sounds super vague, but like just really come to the table prepared to talk about what you think and why, and like what you think about, what you're interested in. I don't care what it is. It could be anything, but like
Hmm.
make me care once you
Yeah,
come, like what, whatever it is, make the conversation about that and
I
make
love
me
that.
want to ask questions.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I think how many times have you heard or read in an application or a cover letter, uh, I like advertising because it's the cross between strategy and creativity and business.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's got to be a bigger idea than that.
yeah.
Like, it's not wrong. That's not wrong.
Right.
But you gotta push harder than that. I gotta know you went deeper than that, and that, like, it doesn't, I mean, yeah, you gotta make me go, "Oh, shit," 'cause
Mm.
and, like, it make me wanna put you in front of our managing director or our head of strategy, because 'cause they're gonna be like, "Wow, that is weird. I never thought about that way." Like, that's
Yeah,
the reaction you want.
that's awesome. I love that. I love that point of view. And I guess in a lot of applications that you see or people you talk to, I'm sure it can be the script can overlap. Things can sound the same sometimes. So
Mhm,
you're saying if somebody comes with an original thought that they truly care about, that's pointed, that makes you
mhm,
think,
mhm.
that will set them apart.
Yeah, because the other thing is, and I don't, maybe this is bullshit, but I do believe, like, this is something I believe, is I think that the more you do that, it's because you actually know yourself. And the better you know yourself, the better you're going to show up at your job and do interesting work. So, like, I think back to our point about like when you get hired and you feel imposter syndrome, like, like the other piece of like us believing in you is actually more about, like, when anyone hires you, any job, they're putting trust in you, they're trusting you. They're
Mhm,
trusting that you're gonna show up the way you show up in the interview, the way you showed up when you talk to them. So now you have to trust yourself, and I think people who come to the table with different points of view trust themselves. I think they
mhm,
trust what they believe, and they're comfortable talking about it, and that is, like, you can't that is not a skill, right? Like, that's not just something you learn, like, that is an innate ability. So I think those are really important, like, learn how to trust your instincts, learn how to trust your own voice.
mhm, 100%. It doesn't make it easy though.
No, hell no,
When
it's
it
not
doesn't
easy.
that's not easy. It doesn't make it easier when in this virtual world that we're in right now.
Mm-mm.
It's really distant and it is hard to connect with people on a level. It's just hard to connect with people online
Yeah,
via Zoom or Google Hangouts, like, or pinging messages via Microsoft Teams on people that
yes.
you barely. I've onboarding digitally. It's not easy. So
No, it's not. It's not, and as someone who has to hire people and interview people all day long, it has been really hard, and the one piece I can just tell you is, like, I've actually stopped getting on Zooms, and I try to just do phone calls, because I
yeah.
think I think phone calls, you listen better
Hmm.
and people feel more comfortable sharing voices. So, like, I find that, like, and it's okay. I mean, if you're interviewing, it's okay to ask if it could just be a call. Like, and
Hmm.
I'll ask people and say, like, is it cool if we just make it a call versus a Zoom? Because I do think that, like, you tend to hear people better. You tend to, like, just, instead of like this whole interface of feeling like I have to look at your background and like you kind of get distracted. Like just letting your own voice show up is much easier on a phone call. So don't be afraid to ask for that.
Oh, I'm sure you guys would prefer it.
Yeah. Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think every in my in my role, people really start meetings with camera off if it's a large group meeting for the most
Yeah.
part. It's
Yeah.
camera off industry where I'm at, but that's okay. I always put mine on and say hi to people, and then they have to do it too. It's like a weird domino effect. Like, okay, then it's like a
Peer
weird like
pressure.
unspoken thing. It's like, all right, are we doing cameras on or off? And you got to feel the room, and then it kind of dominoes. But anyways, that's great. And any other like quick tips or like advice that you wanted to get out to the people that maybe you've noticed while you're interviewing people that you just want to fix, like don't do this or definitely do this, anything like that?
Um, I think there's no do's and don'ts. I think the thing for me, it's just like, don't forget I'm just a person on the other end of the phone. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't I think and I get it. Like, I get when you're talking to a recruiter, you're interviewing, it can be super scary and intimidating, but, like,
Hmm.
please don't forget that, like, I'm just a person and it's totally okay to just be a person with me.
Hmm.
In fact, I want you to be. Like, I want you to be vulnerable. I want you to be honest with me. Um,
Yeah.
and just treat recruiters the way you treat other human beings. Like, you don't have to be as
Mhm.
formal as you think you have to be.
Yeah, I love that. But a lot goes into getting that first call, and it is intimidating. You know, it is like you connection got here. You follow up for 4 years. You went viral on YouTube, whatever it may be. Like
Yeah.
a lot goes into getting that first call, so it can be nerve wracking. But calm it down. You're there for a reason.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any resources that you recommend students follow just to stay knowledgeable, or any interesting culture items
Yeah.
or accounts, podcasts, anything you
So,
recommend?
yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys know all the student stuff, so I won't bore you with those things. Um, what I would tell you is you should get all the weird newsletters about like the news and about culture. Um, if you want to come with interesting points of view, you gotta read
Mm.
interesting stuff. So I would sign up for the pudding. I would sign up for internet breakfast.
What
Um,
are these? I've never heard of these.
so these are all just like different newsletters that compile different like different
Yeah.
pieces of stuff, like culture stuff. And they just basically either write different different stories. Like some of them are like more crafted and some of them are just kind of like compile things.
Hmm.
Um, but they like sometimes they'll put data into weird graphs and stuff to kind of show you. So anyway,
Okay.
it'll just it'll feed interesting stuff into your brain um, and make you more fun to talk to.
What are they called?
The pudding and internet breakfast.
Okay, I'll link that. Appreciate it. I
Hmm.
appreciate it. And if anybody wanted to reach out to you, do you allow that? Is LinkedIn okay?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, reaching out to me is always fine, definitely. Just please realize that I am always about 8 days behind in life, so
Mm.
I don't respond that quickly.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I think, I'm always willing to open doors and give time to people, just if you do wanna chat, that's cool, just please come, like, with questions and tell me what it is I can help you with, and, like, I'm always happy to kind of answer anything or give insight, um, to
Yeah.
try to be as helpful as possible.
Don't waste your time.
Not just that, but I just think, like I think sometimes, um people just don't think through exactly what they want. Like, know what you want, right? Know what you
Yeah.
want from me and tell me, like, because that's helpful information.
Interesting. I'm sure you've had some very interesting interactions with people.
Always. People are interesting things.
Yeah. I could
Yeah.
only imagine. I'm very interested in that. In your profession. Maybe I'll have to
Yeah.
dabble into it eventually.
Yeah, it's always an adventure. You definitely, and it's, you also never know, like, people are never the same when you talk to them. So, like, one day
Hmm.
I'll talk to somebody who we're totally the chemistry's there, and then another day it's like they're tired, whatever, I'm tired. So you also just like just remembering all the time that these are just people,
Humans,
and like,
yeah. Like I,
um,
I had a tough day today. I'll be honest,
yeah, me
but
too, man.
mhm,
Me too.
it is what it is.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's okay, like, most of the time on my interviews, like, I know that I am superhuman about it, so I'm normally, like, really honest.
yeah,
Like, I'll get on the phone and be like, "Gonna be honest with you, I just, like, pushed my child out the door. Real sorry, I haven't even brushed my teeth, but, like, that's why we're on a phone call. Like,
right.
what's going on?" Like,
Yeah,
I'm never gonna come with, like, some formalized bullshit because I think it's
yeah,
just I want people to feel comfortable talking.
yep, yep. Well, I felt very comfortable, and I appreciate it. I can attest you're an awesome person, and you honestly care.
Yeah,
That's also pretty nice too. So
I
thank
do
you for
care.
thank you for coming on. This has been
Yeah.
great. That's all I got for you.
Cool. Well,
Cool.
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you all for listening to this entire episode of the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. I hope you enjoyed this week's guest. Make sure you go and connect with them on LinkedIn. Tell them that Breaking and Entering sent you. Now, thank you to Mikey Malarkey, our audio technician, and Buchun Zhang, our creative director, as well as the student team from the Midnight Oil Agency at the University of Illinois. Can't do it without you all. Thank you very much. We will see you all next week with another amazing guest.